I went camping in Redwood National Park a few months ago. I thought it would help me relax after a busy bit at work. I love hiking and taking pictures of nature, so it seemed perfect. I arrived late in the afternoon and found a campsite far from everyone else. The trees towered around me, and it was quiet. I set up my tent and made a fire as the sun began to set. That's when I heard it. A low, creepy laugh coming from the woods. At first I thought it was just people messing around, but it sent chills down my spine. I tried to ignore it. I mean, it was probably nothing. Just my mind playing tricks, right? The next morning I went hiking. I wanted to clear my head and take some pictures. As I walked, I strayed off the marked path. I saw a fallen log with a strange symbol carved into it. It looked like a star, or maybe a circle with lines. I thought about taking a picture, but I felt like I shouldn't. Something felt off, like I was being watched. I decided to head back to camp. That night, I sat by the fire trying to shake off the creepy feelings. But then I saw lights flickering in the distance. They looked like lanterns swaying between trees. Every time I moved closer, they vanished. My heart was racing. I heard the laughter again, louder and closer now. I thought maybe it was just some locals having fun. I felt scared but curious. When I climbed into my tent that night, a cold feeling washed over me. It felt like someone was right outside. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. I kept telling myself that I was safe, but I couldn't shake the feeling. On my last morning, I hurried to pack up my things. I rolled up my sleeping bag, and then noticed something weird. The same symbol I saw on the log was etched into the ground next to my tent. My heart dropped. What was going on? I felt like I was being watched. I couldn't shake the unease. As I drove away from the park, I glanced in my rearview mirror. I thought I saw someone standing in the trees, just watching me leave. My heart raced again. It felt too real. I told myself it was nothing, just my mind playing tricks on me after a spooky weekend. But deep down, I felt something was out there, something I couldn't understand. I still think about it sometimes. The laughter, the lights, the symbol in the dirt. I don't know what I experienced, but it stays with me. Did someone or something really watch me? I wish I could forget it, but I can't. The woods felt alive in a way I can't explain. I don't know if I'll ever go back to Redwood National Park. When I got home, I tried to push everything to the back of my mind. I settled back into my routine, but the unease lingered. I kept thinking about that symbol and the feeling of being watched. It was hard to shake off. I started avoiding the woods near my home. I didn't want to hike or take long walks. I felt better glued to the familiar comforts of my living room. Weeks later, I decided I needed to talk to someone about it. I made plans to have coffee with a friend of mine, Sarah. I trusted her. She always had a way of making me feel better. As we sat down, I dove into my camping experience, recounting every detail. The laughter, the lights, the symbol. "I don't think you should let it bother you too much," she said, sipping her coffee. "You know how the mind works. Sometimes it plays tricks, especially in nature. It's easy to feel like you're not alone out there." I nodded, but the feeling of dread still weighed heavily on me. Then she leaned in closer. "Have you thought about the symbol? I mean, it's kind of strange to find something like that in the forest." Her words sparked a thought. "Not really," I admitted. "I feel like I should have looked it up, but I was too freaked out." "Let's do it now," she suggested, reaching for her phone. I hesitated, my stomach knotting. Do I really want to know? But I watched as she typed out a search for symbols found in Redwood National Park. Suddenly, the room felt heavy, like a storm cloud looming. Sarah scrolled through the results and her brow furrowed. "Oh, wow. Look at this." Her voice was barely a whisper. I leaned in, and my heart sank. There were various links detailing ancient symbols, many of which were associated with local legends and folklore. Some were warning signs, while others were said to mark sacred spaces. "This one," she said, pointing to a photo. "It's the same as what you described. They say it's a symbol of protection, but also a warning." I felt cold. A warning? Yeah, people say it's tied to old beliefs, about protecting the woods or indicating a presence. Some even think it might be meant to keep outsiders away. Panic started bubbling inside me. What do you mean, a presence? Like ghosts or something else? Sarah avoided my gaze, looking back at her phone. It says there have been sightings of strange lights at night near the symbol's locations, and sometimes people don't come back. My pulse quickened. What do you mean, don't come back? I whispered. That's all I know, she said, darting a glance toward my eyes. I don't think it's a good idea to go back there. But deep down, an unsettling curiosity bit at me. As hard as I tried to shake it, I felt the pull of the campsite again. The lights, the laughter. A part of me wanted answers. When I got home that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining what was really out there. Then, as I turned the lights off, I thought I heard a laugh from the woods behind my house. I froze. It sounded familiar, a sound I'd hoped to forget. That's when I realized something wanted me to know the truth. The next day I woke up feeling restless. The idea of staying away from the woods felt impossible. I decided to take a drive. If I could just see the campsite during the day, maybe it wouldn't seem so terrifying. I grabbed my keys and hit the road, my heart pounding with each mile. As I approached the familiar road, a wave of nostalgia hit me. Memories of laughter with friends danced in my head, but the shadow of that night loomed larger. I parked my car near the trailhead, took a deep breath, and stepped out. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and earth. A part of me felt drawn back to the woods, while another part screamed to turn around. I chose to follow the main path. The sunlight filtered through the trees, bathing everything in a golden glow. Still, the fear gnawed at my insides. I walked slowly, scanning for anything unusual. I reached the area where we had camped. Everything looked the same, almost too peaceful. I gripped my phone tightly, ready to document anything odd if it happened. As I moved further in, I spotted something glinting on the ground. Curiosity won over caution, and I bent down to investigate. It was a small, metal object. I wiped off dirt and realized it was an old pendant, marked with the same symbol I had seen in the forest. My heart dropped. How had this gotten here? I felt that familiar sensation of being watched. I turned, scanning the trees, half expecting to see someone lurking. No one was there. Just silence. Then, out of nowhere, I heard it again. A laugh, childlike, echoing through the woods. My breath caught in my throat. I looked around, heart racing. "Hello?" I called out, but there was no answer, only the rustle of leaves. The laugh sounded closer this time. It stirred something deep within me, a mix of fear and confusion. I stepped back, ready to run, but my feet felt glued to the ground. And then I saw it. A flash of light far down the trail, flickering in and out like a beacon. My heart raced, not from fear, but adrenaline. I couldn't resist. I needed to know what it was. I moved cautiously toward the light, my heart pounding deafeningly in my ears. But as I drew nearer, everything around me grew unsettlingly still. No birds chirped, no leaves rustled, just the pulsing glow ahead. I took another step, then another, every instinct screaming for me to turn back. Then, without warning, everything went dark. The world around me vanished, replaced by a thick, overwhelming silence that felt alive. I stumbled, disoriented, as the light disappeared. Standing there in the utter darkness, I realized I wasn't alone. The laughter returned, but it was different now, taunting, echoing around me. Panic surged as I turned on my heel, desperate to escape. My heart raced as I sprinted back the way I came, dragging my feet through branches and underbrush, until I burst back onto the main trail. Sunlight flooded my vision, clarifying my surroundings. This moment felt like waking from a nightmare, but the laughter still echoed in my head, a haunting reminder. I needed answers. That night I lay awake once more, but this time I wasn't just frightened. I was determined. I found myself reaching for my laptop and typing furiously. I realized it wasn't just about fear anymore. I had to know what this was, but deep down I worried. What other truths were waiting for me? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something crucial. The pendant had given me a glimmer of hope. Maybe it held the key to unlocking this mystery. The next morning, I decided to research anything I could find related to the symbol engraved on it. I spent hours poring over online forums, old news articles, and local legends. As the sun set, I stared at the screen, frustration creeping in. That symbol wasn't just any pendant. It belonged to an old mining community that had vanished. Tales whispered of children who wandered into the woods and never returned. My stomach twisted at the thought of what might have happened. Just as I was about to give up, I found a post from a local historian. It mentioned a reunion planned for families affected by the disappearances decades ago. According to the post, they would gather at a town hall near the woods to share stories. I felt a chill. This could be my chance to hear first-hand accounts from people who had been touched by whatever happened out there. I decided to attend the meeting. As I drove to town, the tension hung thick in the air. Memories of the latest ordeal filled my mind, and I wondered what I'd share. Would they think I was crazy if I told them about the laughter and the light? Walking into the town hall, I spotted several people clustered together, exchanging stories. I felt a pang of hesitation, but pushed it down. I needed answers. As I approached a group, they were discussing a child who had gone missing just last year. "Can you believe it?" one woman said, shaking her head. "Another kid lost in those woods. It's like they're cursed." I wanted to ask them about my encounter, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I listened, trying to understand the collective fear and pain that filled the room. After a while, I found the courage to introduce myself. "I've been going to the woods, and I found something unusual," I said, pulling out the pendant. The crowd turned to me, curiosity mingling with skepticism. "What is it?" an older man asked, peering at it closely. "The symbol on this. It's connected to the old mining community, isn't it?" I asked. The room fell silent. My stomach twisted as their eyes widened. "Where did you find that?" a woman asked, her voice trembling. "At the campsite. I found it while I was looking for answers," I said, my heart racing. The old man leaned in closer. "You should never have gone there. Not after what happened." "What do you mean?" I pressed, desperate for clarity. But before he could answer, the lights flickered, and a gust of wind swept through the hall, slamming the doors shut. My heart dropped. Then I heard it. The childlike laughter again, echoing through the room. Panic washed over everyone, and I realized I wasn't the only one affected by the woods. People scrambled, shouting in confusion. I felt frozen as the laughter grew louder, swirling around us like an unseen presence. Just when I thought the laughter would stop, the lights went out completely. In the darkness, I grabbed the pendant instinctively, clutching it tight. This wasn't over. I had to find out what was happening in those woods before it reached out to take more. But now, faced with this unforeseen threat, I knew I had little time to figure it out. I needed to return to the woods. But what awaited me there? The air was thick as I stepped outside the town hall, the remnants of chaos still ringing in my ears. I stood there for a moment, trying to catch my breath. Whatever had happened in the meeting hall had ignited a fire in me. I couldn't back down now. I had to return to the woods and face whatever awaited me. As I drove, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows along the winding road. The memories of the childlike laughter haunted me, twisting inside my stomach. Each mile felt like a countdown, and I couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. I parked at the edge of the woods, the tree line looming like a wall of darkness. Stepping out of my car, a chill crept through me. I gripped the pendant tightly, its cool surface grounding me. I flicked on my flashlight, the beam cutting through the thickening dusk. The air was eerily still. Not a sound from the usual night creatures. As I walked deeper into the woods, I noticed something strange. A faint glow seemed to be emanating from the direction of the campsite. It flickered like a heartbeat, beckoning me forward. My heart raced, torn between fear and curiosity. That's when I heard it again, the laughter. It echoed through the trees, sweet and haunting. I shivered, recognizing that unsettling joy. It felt like a memory, but it wasn't mine. I took a hesitant step toward the sound. Suddenly, the light grew stronger, illuminating a clearing ahead. My breath caught in my throat as I entered the space. There, in the center, I saw shadows dancing, caught in the glow of what appeared to be a makeshift campfire. But there were no people, only phantom silhouettes, their movements fluid and chaotic as if they were trapped between worlds. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice shaking. The laughter ceased. An unnatural silence fell, swallowing every sound. I took a step back, my instincts screaming to run. But my feet refused to move. I was rooted in place, staring at the shadows that now hung still, swaying lazily as they seemed to look at me. That's when I saw it. A small figure, almost transparent, stepped from the shadows. It looked like a child, its face obscured by hair. Tears stung my eyes at the sight. The image conjured memories of the stories I had heard today. This was a missing child, lost and forever searching. "Help me," it whispered, barely audible, but the words felt like ice. "Help you," I echoed, confusion swirling in my mind. "How?" Before I could comprehend, the shadows surged forward, the warmth of the fire flickering like it was alive. I felt a rush of air, almost like they were trying to pull me in. I stumbled back, panic flooding through my veins. Then everything went dark. A cloud rolled in, blocking the glow entirely, and I was plunged into absolute blackness. My heart pounded as I whipped my flashlight around, but nothing illuminated the space around me. I called out, but my voice was swallowed by the thick silence. The pendant pulsed in my hand, the only source of warmth I felt. I couldn't panic now. I had to find my way back. But how could I escape when the laughter echoed again, brimming with a chilling warmth? I took a deep breath and focused on the pendant. "What do you want?" I demanded, hoping for an answer. In the stillness, I felt the air shift, heavy with anticipation. Whatever awaited me in this darkness was more than I had bargained for. And just as I began to feel the weight of despair, something shifted again. A light flickered back to life, illuminating the clearing once more. But this time, I wasn't alone. Someone stood beside me. My breath hitched. I wasn't prepared for what I might find. I turned slowly, my heart racing. The light revealed a form beside me, someone draped in shadow. It was a man, though he appeared somehow distorted, varying shades of darkness playing across his features. My instincts screamed to run, but I was frozen, caught in the grip of a fear that twisted my stomach. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned closer, and I felt the temperature drop even further. The air around him seemed charged with a heaviness that pressed down on me. "You shouldn't be here," he finally said, his voice low and resonant, echoing the laughter I had heard earlier. "Why not?" Panic crept into my tone. I glanced around, the shadows creeping closer, almost daring me to step back. "What have you done to the children?" He straightened, his presence commanding yet unsettling. "They are not yours to save." Something about his words sent shivers through me. The laughter returned, swirling in the air like a storm. I could almost feel the pull of the shadows, as if they yearned for me to join their dance. "What do you want?" I asked again, my voice trembling. He pointed to the clearing where the flickering flames now danced wildly. "They want you to play, to join them in their eternal revelry." "No!" I cried, backing away. My body was still rooted in place, a primal fear locking me in place. "I won't let that happen." The shadows seemed to ripple in response, sentient and alive. One former silhouette shot forward, a child with wild eyes, reaching for me with tiny hands. The child's mouth opened wide, laughter pouring out in a cacophony that clawed at my sanity. Desperately, I clenched the pendant, and it felt almost like it flared to life. The warmth spread through me, cutting through the cold abyss that surrounded us. "I'm not afraid of you," I shouted, trying to summon any strength I had left. The man's expression shifted, a flicker of something resembling concern flashing across his face. "Fear is not what they desire," he hissed. "They want you to let go." Just then, from behind him, I noticed another figure emerge. This one unmistakably familiar. It was a child, a girl with bright eyes and curly hair. I recognized her from the missing posters around town. "Help me!" she screamed. "Please!" "Stop!" I shouted, the chaos threatening to overwhelm me. "Stop this! Where's your friend?" The man closed his eyes, letting out a low, rumbling laugh. "No friend will come to save you. You must choose." The shadows surged and the clearing filled with high-pitched giggles, harmonizing into an eerie chant. I felt an oppressive weight in the air. It was all becoming too much. I needed to think, to break free from this nightmare. But then I heard it, a distinct sound like a child's whisper cutting through the laughter. "Find me." The voice was clearer, pulling my attention. My breath hitched. Whoever it was, they knew something I didn't. I took a step forward, desperate to reach that voice. The shadows flickered, momentarily revealing a path carved through the darkness. Before I lost my chance, I turned toward the man, determination flooding my veins. "Tell me how to find her." The shadows held their breath, and in the silence that followed I felt the world tilt dangerously on its axis. What lay ahead could either bring me closer to the truth or plunge me deeper into peril. And I had to decide. I took a breath, the air thick with fear and uncertainty. My eyes darted between the man and the flickering shadows. "Please, tell me how to find her," I urged, my voice steadier than I felt. The shadows twisted around me, eager, hungry for something I didn't understand. The man tilted his head, studying me. "They can't be saved unless you're willing to embrace the darkness," he said, his tone almost teasing. "The voices will lead you, but they don't always speak the truth." My heart raced. A part of me was disgusted, the thought of bargaining with these shadows sickening. But the memory of the girl's terrified face pushed me forward. "I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes." He smiled then, his lips curling in a way that twisted my stomach. "Very well, brave one, follow the whispers before you're consumed." Suddenly the laughter intensified, wrapping around me like a frigid blanket. I turned, following the flickering light that pulsed deep in the clearing. The shadows seemed to part slightly, revealing a narrow path. I knew I had to take it, or I might lose my chance forever. The deeper I ventured, the more the shadows closed in, thick and suffocating. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown. The laughter began to fade behind me, replaced by that haunting whisper again. "Find me. You're close." I pushed forward, adrenaline coursing through me. The path wound further into darkness, and the air became stifling. Suddenly I stumbled upon a small clearing lit by a circle of faint flickering lights. They danced in the air like fireflies, but the sight felt wrong. The glow was tainted, casting ghastly shadows on the ground. In the center there was an ancient tree, gnarled and twisted, its branches clawing at the sky. I felt drawn to it, the whispers stronger now. "Underneath," they urged. "Find what's hidden." Kneeling, I brushed aside the fallen leaves and dirt, my hands trembling. A chill ran down my spine as I unearthed something small and cold. A locket. My heart sank as I recognized it. It was the same locket the missing girl wore in the photographs. I had seen it countless times. "Where are you?" I shouted, holding up the locket. "Tell me where she is!" The shadows shifted restlessly, and the laughter returned, louder than ever. "You think that trinket will help?" The man's voice echoed, somehow drawing closer again. "It only binds you to this place." Panic surged within me. I thrust the locket in my pocket, feeling its weight anchor me. "What do you want?" I yelled into the darkness, desperation rising like bile. "Your choice," he replied, his voice swirling all around me. "Join us or lose her forever." Then everything went dark. The glow dimmed, and it felt as if the shadows swallowed me whole. In that suffocating black, I could not tell where I ended and they began. With no other choice, I clung to the locket and called out again, hoping, praying that the girl could hear me. "I'm coming. Hold on." But in that moment, a whispered response wrapped around me, chilling my bones. "You don't understand. You've already lost." My heart sank. What had I done? The darkness pressed in tighter, wrapping around me like a cloak. I gasped, the air thick with a sharp metallic smell that made me want to choke. "This isn't real," I whispered to myself, desperate for a thread of hope. "I can find her." But deep down, a nagging doubt clawed at my mind. I felt the locket's cool metal against my skin, grounding me. I couldn't give up. Not now. Then, a soft glow flickered to my left, catching my eye. I turned, squinting through the shadows. It was a figure, tall and obscured, stepping cautiously toward me. My heart raced, and all I could think was that I wasn't alone anymore. "Who are you?" I called out. But the voice that came from my lips felt weak. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a woman. She wore a tattered dress, dirt smudged across her cheek. Her eyes were wide and wild, reflecting the dim light. "You shouldn't be here," she warned, glancing nervously at the creeping shadows. "Have you seen her?" I asked, urgency filling my voice. "The girl with the locket? Please, I need to find her." Her expression twisted into one of sympathy, but there was something else lurking beneath. "It's not just a locket. It binds you to this place, like all of us." "Who are you?" I pressed, needing answers. "Why are you here?" "I was like you once, desperate," she said, stepping closer. "But I discovered the truth. You can't trust the whispers. They lie." Just then, the shadows shifted behind her, a wisp of movement that made her freeze. Fear flickered across her face. "You need to leave now. The shadows, they can take your soul. They want you." Anger and confusion surged within me. I can't leave without her. She needs me. But as I spoke, the shadows began to ripple, their laughter bubbling up around us again. The noise was deafening like a raging storm. Suddenly, the woman's eyes widened in panic. "Go! Now!" She turned, sprinting into the dark. I wanted to chase after her, to demand answers, but the shadows closed in, swirling around my feet like quicksand. I hesitated, and that was all it took. The darkness pulsed, and I felt a cold hand grip mine. Jerked back, I found myself face to face with the man from before. His grin was wider, more sinister. "You think you can save her? You think you can escape?" I pulled away, but he was too strong. "Let me go!" I screamed, but laughter echoed around us. "Join us," he repeated, his voice dripping with mockery. "You'll never find her if you resist." With a sudden rush of fear, I remembered the locket. Desperation clouded my mind. It was the one connection I had to her. I yanked it from my pocket, holding it tightly in my palm. "I will save her." But before I could act, the ground trembled beneath me. A low growl rumbled from the shadows. Something massive was emerging, and whatever it was hungry. "Your choice," the man taunted, stepping back into the dark. "Join us, or sacrifice everything." Heart pounding, dread coiled in my stomach. I looked toward the shadowy mass, unable to breathe. Suddenly I knew I had to make a choice, and the clock was ticking. The ground shook again, and I stumbled, my hands bracing against the cold earth for support. Panic surged through me as the monstrous form began to reveal itself. A shadow, twisted and contorted, rose slowly from the darkness. It had no clear shape, just an amalgamation of shifting silhouettes that clawed at the air. "Don't look away," the man's voice echoed, chilling me to the bone. "That's when it will strike." I wanted to scream, to run, anything to escape the suffocating grip of fear, but my body felt frozen, locked in place by the approaching darkness. It started to take form, a maw, filled with jagged teeth that dripped something wet and sinister. "Why won't you let me go?" I shouted, voice cracking. The words bounced back at me, swallowed by the lurking shadows. The man stepped closer, his smile wide and mocking. "Because you're part of this now. You've already chosen." His gaze lingered on the locket, and I clutched it tighter, as if it could protect me. In a moment of desperation, I slammed the locket down on the ground. "I refuse to join you." The sound echoed like a gunshot, reverberating through the dark. For a brief second, the shadows hesitated, hinting at a trace of uncertainty. But it was short-lived. The growl intensified, and the monstrous shape lunged forward, inches away from my face. I could see its eyes now swirling with darkness, a void that seemed to suck the very light around it. My instincts kicked in. I turned on my heel and ran. My heart raced, pounding in time with the thundering chaos behind me. The ground felt unstable, like I was running on a distorted surface. I had no idea where I was going. Voices whispered around me, echoing warnings and threats. They were everywhere. I stumbled, falling to my knees as something slashed my arm, sharp, icy pain that sent shockwaves through my body. I cried out but forced myself to keep moving, clawing at the dirt, desperate for purchase. Then I saw it, a faint light flickering in the distance. Hope ignited inside me. I scrambled to my feet, shoving my hand into my pocket for the locket. It was still there, a tangible reminder of her. Maybe it could guide me out of this nightmare. As I stumbled toward the light, the whispers grew louder, pressing in around me. "Turn back," they hissed. "You don't belong here." But I couldn't stop. I was so close. Just a few more steps. Then everything went dark again. The light was snuffed out like a candle. I felt the weight of shadows close in, thick and oppressive, stealing my breath. "No!" I gasped, looking around wildly. The man's laughter resonated once more, mingling with the growl of the beast. "You thought you could escape?" I gritted my teeth, recalling the woman in the tattered dress. "You can't take me," I yelled into the abyss, summoning every ounce of strength. The locket was warm in my palm. If it bound me here, maybe it could also free me. Suddenly I sensed movement behind me. Someone was there, stepping into the clutches of darkness. I turned, heart racing. "Stop! Don't come any closer!" But it was too late. The shadows twisted, engulfing the figure. My breath caught. I knew I had to make a choice, a final gamble. "If it means saving her," I began, but before I could finish, darkness engulfed me again, pulling me into its depths. And then, silence. When the silence lifted, I found myself sprawled on the ground back in the clearing. The sunlight filtered through the trees, warming my skin. I blinked, disoriented, confusion swirling in my mind like fallen leaves in a gust of wind. Had it all just been a nightmare? I pushed myself upright, glancing around. The clearing looked so ordinary, too ordinary. The shadows were gone, but a lingering heaviness clung to the air, a faint echo of laughter still dancing in the corners of my mind. I instinctively reached for the pendant in my pocket, but it was gone. Panic surged through me. No, no, no! I scrambled to my feet, heart racing. I had to find it. I had to know what happened. I searched the ground frantically, scattering leaves and dirt. Nothing. Then my breath caught as I spotted something behind the ancient tree. A small glimmer in the soil. I rushed over, digging with my hands. My fingers found cold metal, and I pulled out the locket, its surface untouched, miraculously unchanged. Breathless, I held it in front of me. The markings seemed to pulse with a faint light of their own. Was it the darkness trying to claw its way back? Questions hammered in my mind. What had just happened? I couldn't shake the memory of the laughter, the shadows, the man. What did he mean by, "You've already chosen"? My pulse quickened. Hadn't I escaped? I glanced around the clearing, drawn to the trees that had once felt so inviting but now stood like silent sentinels, recalling the unseen eyes that had watched me. I took a deep breath and turned back toward the path. As I retraced my steps, a strange peace settled around me. Yet doubt clawed at the corners of my mind. Had I really confronted the source of the darkness, or just skirted around it? I felt as though I had stepped through a door only to find it closing behind me. I hurried to the car, eager to distance myself from the woods that had ensnared me in their web. Hours later, I found myself back at home, sitting in front of my computer. I stared at the locket, my thoughts a chaotic jumble. The pendant was a link to the past, a key to stories unheard. I clicked through forums and old reports of the missing children, their faces fractured as I skimmed through countless articles. But what had happened to them? The voices, the man, the symbiotic relationship with the woods that seemed to whisper their secrets yet guard them fiercely. I took a deep breath, feeling both relief and anxiety lingering in the air. I couldn't just let it go. I wondered if telling people about what I experienced would help or hurt them. But as I stared into the locket, I knew I couldn't fully understand. That night, as I lay in bed, other thoughts fought for my attention. Would the history of the woods ever fade? I still heard the laughter sometimes, in the fragments of my dreams, and in quiet moments when the wind whistled past my window. I moved my gaze toward the trees outside. They loomed dark against the night sky, and a sense of unease twisted in my stomach. Was something still watching? Were those children still calling? I tried to convince myself it was just the mind playing tricks after all that had happened, a coping mechanism for the unexplainable. But something else nagged at the edges of my sanity, and in that unsettling silence I realized some questions linger like a distant echo, hard to shake, leaving trails of uncertainty. I turned off the light, pulling the quilt tightly around me, holding on to the warmth of safety. But as I drifted into sleep, I wondered whether I would ever really know the truth about the darkness and its laughter.